Boom! I'm Hikosaemon. This is Tokyo Tonight 2. Welcome. I can breathe this week, so we're doing better. Good to see Nicholas Rapp and Steve from Berkeley. Glad that you could wake up, especially if you're in Berkeley, California time zone. It must be like super early at the moment. The title of the video is based on this thing, the poop-themed kanji study book, which actually, apart from being a bestseller in Japan, was something I found at home. And I should have actually brought it in here. It's got some surprising sentences. It's a good way to learn. Hello, David Hunter. Good to have you along. But yes, another week in Japan. There's been another... Oh, Steve Miller, I was just about to say. There's been another North Korean missile test tonight. And they're getting to be about as eventful as the Chinese intrusions of the Senkaku Islands. They're becoming kind of routine. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but that is what is happening. Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you made it. Great to see Steve Miller, by the way, from Voice of America. Has an awesome YouTube channel and podcast and all that sort of stuff. Mr. Cordy Chap, that's right. Every single time they get you. You should be getting from those fellows who are sending the missiles. Speaking of which, New Zealand will be launching an intercontinental ballistic missile probably next week. With a 500 kilogram or 500 pound, I think, payload it can carry. It's actually a rocket for launching satellites into orbit, but that's basically what missiles are, right? That's why the Nazis were making them for the Americans after World War II. Lovely people, but you know. So yes, and Shelley, hello Shelley, nice of you to be watching, and glad that you're there. So let's go through what's been going on. Again, it hasn't been a terribly eventful week. Maybe it's me, or maybe it's... I have been... So people at work, and actually even people at YouTube, when I was talking to, were telling me that they've been watching... so Amazon is starting, like it's live streaming in Japan as well as here. Japan doesn't have YouTube Red yet, none of what you have in America. This is a problem with this media stuff, is that America always gets all the stuff first and they don't roll it out in other places. However, in Japan they rolled out or Amazon, apart from rolling out The Man in the High Castle and some other series which I really wanted to watch, which was pretty cool. They also made an original series, a reality TV show. I've never seen The Bachelor before. I don't really, frankly, care for the subject matter all that much. It doesn't strike me as being too interesting, but they made one of these for Japan, and everyone I'm meeting, like everywhere, is saying, "Oh, you got to watch it. It's really good." I mean, granted, mostly females are telling me that, but I finally gave in this week, and I did start watching it, and it is quite interesting. It reminds me a little bit of. It makes me glad I'm not single, I suppose. It does remind me of dating different types of Japanese girls and the sort of cultural differences that you have when you date in Japan. So apart from having those memories triggered, it is interesting to watch. I mean, in the end of the day, the Bachelor guy is basically just pretty much a cross between a company president and a host. As in a male host in a host bar. But yeah, it's been pretty interesting. I think I'm up to like episode 8 now. So I'll almost be done with that. I've been watching it on my commute, although I watched a little bit more of it this evening, which was fun. And speaking of that stuff, so he's talking about how he's going to build the moon base for NASA, so it'll all be built by robots and ready for when people arrive. I love that SpaceX and these guys are all talking about like basically having manned space flights this year, moon bases by 2020. I'd given up. I grew up, after the decision was made in 1972 to give up on Apollo and commit to the space shuttle. The space shuttle was what I wanted to get on all the time as a kid, but it's 100 kilometers up, it's low Earth orbit, and that's just how it looked like it was going to be forever. And now we've got these guys here doing cool stuff. So I'm very appreciative of that, and I'm really hopeful I'll get to go, as a tourist to the moon within my life. So we'll find out what happens. Yes, I'm watching the Japanese version of The Bachelor, Mr. Cordy Chap, and again, it's just because a lot of people talk, and it's kind of like, yeah, I wouldn't say it's the best thing I've ever seen, honestly speaking, but it is interesting to watch from it. Like, for example, just the fact, having not seen the American ones, but being a bit of a reality TV show junkie, the timidness and the sort of, it's kind of weird. Like, they're up to episode 8 and one of them like held the hand or something and everyone freaks out. It's strange. It is strange, but it is good cultural stuff. Ben Duncan, good to see you. Nippon Culture Quest, great to have you along. Barringer, excellent to have you here. Bradley Ford. Well, I wish that my bank account looked the same. I don't. Yeah, I'm not sure that's a compliment, but thank you. It's like Mason. The revolution will not be live streamed. Well, who knows? It could very well be. Steve Miller is awesome, says Bradley Ford, and Steve Miller humbly says thank you. Yes, wind turbines. Yes, UK is about to turn on the biggest wind turbines. The previously Danish company, by the looks of it, Dong. Is that really Dong Energy? It's Dong Energy. So the biggest turbines of Dong Energy will be in UK, not in Denmark anymore, which is interesting. That means that English will go around telling everyone that they have the biggest dongs. I mean, they do with the 8 megawatts. So yeah, back in my day, I think there were 5 megawatt turbines, which is huge, by the way. I mean, there are whole power stations that don't generate 1 megawatt. So, you know, that is pretty impressive. The only thing is that it's, of course, you know, not very regular. Mr. Cordy Chap, it was cringeworthy. I'd say the first like 3 or 4 episodes were pretty painful. Now it's getting kind of more interesting. Andrea Moboy, good to have you along there. Extreme couponing. Extreme couponing. Okay, I've got to check this out. That sounds pretty. Yes, it's an 8 megawatt dong. That's what Britain has now. But I think this is pretty cool that UK is doing this, and they're also doing very cool stuff with Tidal, Wave. The only question is just how to balance it all out. So yes, this person used a drum machine to make classical music sound like video game music, and did a very, very good job. What is that they've got there? That's a little Akai beatmas drum machine, or is that? I don't know what's a drum machine they're using. It looks like an MPC anyway, but I look at the color buttons. It sounds pretty good. Go check it out. Microsoft has something which will actually put a holographic, and bear in mind the HoloLens is an AR display that superimposes 2-dimensional images over what you can see. They're actually going to, apparently they've developed a true holographic display that fits inside your glasses, might fit inside these, and will actually be like the full Star Wars thingy. It will actually, that's pretty cool. Again, they're doing very, very cool stuff there. So, as you know, I'm just a big fan of this stuff, and I think this stuff is going to get really big, and it's good to see that Microsoft is doing cool stuff there. Mondo Grosso and Bird are playing at, there'll be live stream from the YouTube space this Friday. Mondo Grosso and Bird are among, separately and together, my favorite artists like ever, and they've done stuff together. For me, Bird's song called Souls, S-O-U-L-S, is one of my favorite songs. Every song that she's done, and she did live, I think, with Mondo Grosso. Mondo Grosso's Shinichi also produced, who is also one of my favorite club music producers, on top of the fact that Mondo Grosso is sort of the new bossa nova club sound type thing. It's just really, really cool anyway. MG4 I've got on vinyl. It would be a great night out in any case. They're streaming live from the YouTube space, so if you want to hear some top-notch Japanese tunes, tune in for that. What else we got here? This is some dating thing. Looks a bit kinky to me. They blindfold them for dates. I don't know. I mean, you know, the first thing that I think is that this is great for me because, you know, they wouldn't get to see my face. Although it might be a little bit funnier if they detected I had an accent, which I do quite well at getting away with. Sometimes I do manage to surprise people that I'm a gaijin. I've worked out, I've been here 20 years practicing specifically to do that, but yes, it is nice. Hey, Corp Q Summer, yo, indeed, welcome. Who else we got in here? We got Channel Ralph, greetings indeed, and yes, good to see you all. And by the way, just remember, I am watching the comments, and you can ask me for topics or questions or stuff as we go through, but there we go. What else we got here? Today it was like 30 degrees in Tokyo, so officially what they consider to be the first day of summer, which is pretty early, but that's the way everything's going these days. My good friend Kenji Hosokawa here, he is a lawyer, and he automated this, days as a lawyer numbered. I disagree, but this is interesting. JP Morgan has developed an AI which can review contracts, basically boring sort of form contracts that they spend a lot of time on lawyers and loan reviewers to look at, and basically they did in seconds what took 360,000 hours, and they were probably paying around $500, $300 to $500 an hour for each one of those hours, so it's quite a saving. But from my perspective as well, having AI that can pass contracts and tell you what the terms are and stuff like that, and aggregate and put into a database the terms, that's pretty good, actually. I'm for me, this is something like when I used to do M&A. I would spend weeks going through or reading every single one of the contracts and checking, making my own Excel lists of what terms were in what. If this could be automated in seconds, it just means you get straight to writing the advice and not doing all the legwork. Granted, it means lawyers won't be able to charge as much, but I think that's a good thing as well, because frankly, their time is going to be better used. So Andrea, geez, man, it feels like you just arrived in China yesterday. Only 5 more weeks. Although I can imagine you must be looking forward to going back home to Australia. I mean, China's definitely coming up, and in some ways has come up and caught up and passed Japan in many ways. But I'm kind of glad, even if Japan's sort of on a decline, it's a nice standard of living here. I mean, it's different to Australia, but the pollution and everything like that. I must admit, you'd be looking forward to that, I guess. But yeah. Hey, Robert XXX001, bye Hiko job. Well, not necessarily. What I'm saying about this is that the boring, laborious aspects of my job will be taken away, and I can spend more time doing interesting stuff, which is actually what I'm always trying to do anyway. I think this is an awesome thing. Of course, we're going to be challenged. Everyone in every job is going to be challenged to find new things to do that tasks that are not mind-numbing and repeatable and so on. They cannot be automated. But I think you should look at that as a positive. I mean, think of all the things that we used to have to do. I mean, milking cows by hand, carrying the buckets, whatever. We use pumps, we use trucks to drive them around now. Everything's sped up and more efficient. It doesn't mean that you've put people out of jobs. In some ways, I mean, you can create more jobs by being more efficient. So we'll see what happens with it. But China's hard going if you're going to live there long term. I believe it. I'd actually really love to hear about that sometime. I don't know if you post on Facebook or you do a blog about it or something, but if you do, I'd love to read it. But I can imagine, you'd be pretty. I mean, Australia, I think, is actually the best lifestyle of any country in the world. It is rapidly getting very unaffordable to live there, I think, because everyone's finding out. But you must be looking forward to the return of that, to the return of that lifestyle. What else we got here? Tesla's now got these little tiles for their solar-powered roofs. And they've just announced pricing, and apparently they're super cheap. So there we go. They are pretty sweet there. Mr. Cordychip, you often demand your money back, and I always give it. You always have all the money that you paid returned to you. It's like magic. I always come through. There we go. Tokyo Art Museum, recognized on the UNESCO list. Man, where is Japan up to? I remember they threatened to boycott UNESCO over the comfort women sort of thing, but Nippon.com, curated by Peter Durfee, they've got a full list over here, they claim to, of, where did it go? Of World Heritage Sites in Japan. But anyway, Japan loves that stuff. This is a big one. I talked at length with Tai Nakamura about this, about how Summer Sonic, which is more pure sort of rock festival, and Fuji Rock, which is just all types of rock music, all types of music, including club music, reggae music, electronic rock, all that sort of stuff. I said actually one of my favorite experiences of my early years in Japan, when I could handle it, just from an endurance perspective, was the the Fuji Rock Festival. And here are some tips from Tokyo Chipo on how to get there and how to stay there. And lodging, well, again, you can, I would always sit in the camp, but that is pretty hard going, being on a tent on a ski slope, which is one of the reasons I would actually quite like to go back there now, but I'd want to stay in the hotel now. I'd pay the extra money for it. But Fuji Rock is one of the greatest music festivals in the world, not just because of the awesome bands that come, because you get that in Europe and in America as well, but what sets Fuji Rock aside is the crowd. I mean, crowds are good everywhere, of course, but when you mix Japanese culture and Japanese people with a 300,000 person crowd in a ski field in the middle of summer with awesome music, it's different and it's special and it adds to the experience. So it's definitely worth looking at. Dandenong. I didn't actually realize that you're from Dandenong, Andrea. I've got cousins in Dandenong. So yeah, okay, that's pretty cool. I should get down there sometime. I've been meaning to get down to Australia to Melbourne for 20 years. I've got family down there. and from around that part as well. So there we go. Sunwolves handed a lesson in finishing. Well, they lost again, unfortunately. I would really like the Sunwolves to get one win, but I tell you what, it's pretty hard being forced to play half of your home games in Singapore. I mean, it's right on the equator, it's super hot, it's not Japan. And it's another example. It's a bit, for me, like making Korea and Japan co-host the FIFA Soccer World Cup. It just kind of splits the goodness. It doesn't double anything. I know that Singapore had a bid, which probably would have been a whole bunch of expat players there. And it was right to give it to Japan, but having them play the games in Singapore, well, I suppose they are doing it for the marketing and the promotion of the sport. That's the purpose of the club, and that's why they're not going to get cut. Where it looks like Melbourne or Perth might be cut from the competition. But yeah, it is tough going, and the Sharks are a good team. So this poop-based kanji book, basically what it is, it's all the basic kanji that you have to learn each year in school. Like the first year kanji, there's about 30 of them, and the second year kanji, there's about 50 of them. It's actually not a bad way for adults to learn either. For some reason they teach us different when we learn kanji for the proficiency exams. But the nice thing about this particular book is that they have sample pages here. It's basically every sentence, it gives you an example sentence of the kanji being used, and it's some example where tied to poop. It's some sentence to do with poop. And actually, I noticed the kanji for brother and sister. It's got, my brother shits the bed when he goes to sleep every night. It's kind of shocking even to me. I mean, for a non-German language book, it's pretty strong. But in Japan, this is the thing: fart, poop, shit. These words are not taboo in Japan like they are in our language. I mean, remember, fart is is one of the 6 prohibited words from broadcasting in the US, which is really strange if you think about it. I mean, it's just a burp from your asshole, but that's what they. And shitting is what's a bodily function. Why do we give a shit? South Park actually pointed out the issue with this. But see, in Japan, you go on to children's shows. I still remember the first time I saw a children's show with puppets, where somebody won some competition and ran away. Ha ha! And one was left, face the camera, the little sock puppet. Shit! Even as an expletive, they say shit. It's okay. It's just like saying poop, and that's what this is about. But I tell you what, I tweeted, I took a photo of my son's book, and everyone's like, I want that book. And this book is a top seller in Japan. So there you go. If you want to be entertained at the same time as you read, why not? The Baldman Clan, indeed. Kimmy Kim, good to have you along. Rick Astley is heading to Summer Sonic. Wow, that's not bad. So there we go. I could wear a wig. Who knows? A body burp. Nicely put there. It's very delicate. So that's been exciting. Today I was out shopping and I saw this shop, and there actually it's mostly women's clothes in it, but I saw lots of men standing in it. And I have to admit, I mean, I went towards it in order to take this photo. Not sure what it is about the shop. There's something about it that just makes me want to look, to see what's going on there. Not sure what it is. Welcome to Japan. You can be at a classy shopping outlet mall in Odaiba, and there are shops called... Yes, well, it's a very nice name. I saw that today. That was interesting. That's some stupid stuff. This is kind of stupid stuff as well, but I guess I've been watching The Bachelor, so how do you know? In fact, actually, I really didn't find this actually very interesting or helpful when I looked at the actual content of it. You can have a look at it yourself. Poops are us. That's a good one. What else have we got here? We're talking about parody. This is, with Trump going to Saudi Arabia and trying to think of all of the things that could go wrong in a speech of Trump giving a speech in Saudi Arabia. He's going there today to talk about Islam. I mean, holy crap. I don't even know where to start or where to end with talking about this. So I gave a few bad taste jokes about it. But the thing is that you can't do a parody because he'll outdo me. And it will be real. It's actually, some people suggested maybe the strategy is to understate it, to actually just pretend it all goes exactly to plan. Oh, it's going to be interesting. And once he's done with this, he's going to Israel and the Palestinian territories. So there we go. There's the Summersonic transport options. That's pretty good. The 10,000 year vault for all the world's seeds started in 2008. Flooded in 2017. Lasted like, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a good definition. My math isn't good, but I'm pretty sure that 2017 minus 2008 is not 10,000. It did not last for 10,000 years. My math isn't great, but I can figure that much out. I mean, let's face it, and even if you want to blame climate change for it, which they are, if you're planning for 10,000 years, you should plan for moisture, right? I mean, you know, it's not a good start, Norway. I know Norway is expecting to be frozen this whole next 10,000 years, and it could still happen, but yes, apparently it wasn't waterproof, so they've got to think about that. It still is a good idea, and I'm glad that they're doing it. But 10,000 years, I mean, I think they've got to think of something a little bit more robust than, you know, than that. Apparently, so you know how Duterte's been doing he's been basically saying, hey, we don't really care about America anymore, we want to be friends with China and invest money in us, and we're not going to antagonize you, all that sort of stuff. Well, China returned the favor by saying, hey, yeah, if you guys go drill oil in southern Philippines in your own territorial waters, if you want to drill for oil there, yeah, we're going to like bomb the shit out of you. Have a nice day. Chinese foreign policy. I mean, remember, with all of these artificial islands, they said they would be for enhancing safety and they wouldn't actually militarize them, and they militarized them. Makes me really think that, you know, Japan really is like the nicest country. I know I'm biased, I know no one else thinks this, but you know, when Korea got Takeshima, they militarized the hell out of it, and they shot anyone who dropped a fishing line nearby. You know, if they were from Japan, they killed a whole bunch of people. China said that they wouldn't be assholes about their artificial islands, but they were. You know, Japan sitting there, they arrest people who even go and visit the island. But there again, if these are the people that you're dealing with, maybe the Korean approach is the correct one. And this is actually what Ishihara was advocating, you know, in a trollish kind of a way. He was sort of saying, you know, everyone knows that Takeshima's not coming back, we should just do what the Koreans did. And maybe I'm kind of like, yeah, the guy kind of has a point. It would really piss off China, and everyone would blame Japan for pissing off China. But seriously, this is China. I mean, it's kind of like, you know, they're gonna take it if they don't do something about it. And I don't know. I mean, again, you can say go screw America, but you know, no matter how bad America gets, and it gets pretty bad. I mean, we're seeing about as bad as America gets. It doesn't pull shit like that. I mean, Trump has not actually threatened war with Philippines if they drill for oil within their own territory, right? Andrea, have a good night. Sleep well. So there we go. I've seen this vault on YouTube. So, dark matter sensors, alien metastructure. By the way, somebody shared on Facebook the other day something that was really, really cool. He was a guy called Arthur Isaac, and he does sort of videos about the future. And he's got an accent that's a bit like Cartman as a southern police officer. Come over here. And it's like a mix of that and Elmer Fudd. I wonder if I can sort of see my watching history. It was really, really good. I got, yes, some Flight of the Conchords there. But the space elevators, skyhooks, and settling on the moon videos you can see there. This guy is really cool. He's got a whole bunch of videos, Isaac Arthur. If someone can tell me what his accent is, I would really appreciate that. But his videos are basically industrializing the moon, cyborgs, dead aliens, life support, quantum computing, space elevators. I mean, this stuff is like... And actually he does it... Oh, I'm sorry, you can't see that because the video's playing. Oh. Now you can see. Sorry about that. In fact, I don't want to do that. Boom, 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 boom. This guy, Isaac Arthur. So this guy's videos, anyway, he's got a puzzling accent. He's got like an Elmer Fudd, you know, police officer Cartman sort of an accent, but it sounds really, really cool. Dark does matter, apparently. That's right, dark matter matters. It's a movement of nerdy scientists. So there you go. This was really cool. I could watch this for hours. I highly recommend it if you're into this sort of future technology sort of stuff. Arthur Isaac. Or Isaac Arthur, is it? Anyway, I'm going to go watch more of his stuff, but that was pretty cool. What else have we got here that was interesting? I did a few, I retweeted a few Gaijin Confession Fridays. I talked about the time I went through customs, and the guy at customs asked me, does New Zealand have marijuana? Because I just come from marijuana, and I was looking a bit rough, and I said, yes, it has lots, and I didn't bring any with me, and he laughed, and he waved me through. It was pretty cool, actually. Apparently Jamie LG confesses that they really enjoy sitting down to shower, as do I. In fact, I've pretty much forgotten the chore of standing up to wash while in the shower. So I quite like that one. I don't fully understand my life anymore. I thought that was kind of funny. I quite like this one. I get really irritated when people assume I don't like natto. It's true, but that's not the point. I do quite like that one. Retweeted by Gaishinpod. And yes, and I've had this one for a while. Are you going back home this year? Inferring visit family. My brain goes, I am home. That's right, I definitely do that. So yeah, I wish smartphones will be able to photograph stars at some point soon. I know that's really hard to do, but that would be pretty cool. What else have we got? Here's a person who's got advice for learning Japanese from a manga translator. Manga in itself is a pretty good way to learn Japanese, by the way. Zach Davison, some good advice there on studying Japanese. Knickerbocker pants. I call them MC Hammer pants, but yes, they're pretty much the trousers that construction people wear. Wages in Japan real wages have been falling in spite of deflation, so that's kind of why people feel like the economy isn't going great. AI learning to drive on GTA 5, Grand Theft Auto 5, AI teaching to drive itself. This is kind of interesting to watch, actually. It's kind of, I'm glad that they're doing it in that game and not in real life, but it's actually pretty impressive to watch. Toshiba's getting sold off. I mean, they're screwed. They're actually, their deadline to publish their financials is on Monday, I think. And I think they said the other day that they're not going to make it. That they were considering publishing their financials basically without their auditors signing off on it, i.e. the auditors think it's worse than they think it is. I don't know, they would just get sued every way in this. Not publishing, they'll get sued. Publishing, they'll get sued. But yeah, they're trying to sell off their memory units, and they're in a tough place, which is, again, it makes me sad because I really like Toshiba, but that's how it is. Here's a good one. If you're coming to Japan and you like to get a part-time job that Japanese people like to get, here are the part-time jobs that Japanese people most want to get. So what are the popular arubaito, the popular jobs? Number 10, working at Uniqlo. And yeah, I'm a big fan of Uniqlo, so I get that. Aeon, I don't get so much. Aeon's like a supermarket, right? But they're paid internships, okay? And they can earn credits while working part-time. I see, so they can get credits with the university. That's interesting. Family Mart, well, you know, again, it's a convenience store job. I think it's an excellent way to learn Japanese, and actually most convenience stores in Japan now have at least one or two foreigners on every shift. Mostly Chinese, but it still is pretty cool. Yeah, I think you got a good point there, Charlie Brown. You good to have you along here. Muji is pretty good. Although getting a bit dated now, but sorry, I bumped on the connector there. 7-Eleven, which for me is the best of the convenience store chains. Although it's interesting, Lawson comes in above 7-Eleven, even though 7-Eleven is more popular. So there we go. McDonald's, wow, that's interesting, is more popular than working at the convenience store chains. And I did not know, actually, that the chief of staff of George W. Bush or Jeff Bezos, I didn't know that they all started at McDonald's, so there you go. Apparently people do like to do that. Universal Studios Japan, big fun park, makes sense, as does Tokyo Disney Resort. And Starbucks is the #1 most popular job in Japan. By the way, I have seen foreigners who have gone and sorry, I got distracted for a moment. What was I saying? Yes, sorry, at Starbucks as well, you do frequently see foreigners working there. I think if you're young and you're coming and you're interested in just doing something that's not just English teaching, a bit more interesting, and you get to interact with Japanese people a lot, I think that's a great job. So there we go. These are the most interesting arubaito in Japan. Musashi Mark, boom, right back at you. Good to have you here. And Charlie Brown AU, did I hear that they found a way to decrypt WannaCry ransomware for free so long as you won't reboot the PC? I did hear that. There was something out the other day. I mean, again, it kind of sucks if you're caught up with this. And I guess it's a good reason to keep your OS up to date more than anything else, or not using bootleg operating systems. In fact, the fact that a lot of bootleg Windows copies were victims of this because they weren't getting the patches and so on, kind of makes you feel a little bit suspicious that it's very advantageous for Microsoft that this happened in some ways. But yes, indeed. Yeah, it certainly sounds like it was very tough for the people that happened. So what else have we got? We've got this confused me a little bit. Apparently this is a toilet hack. It covers the sound of your pooping with samurai battle cries. And I guess that might work in most houses, but as I pointed out on Twitter, I already make this sound when I'm on the toilet, at least if I haven't really drank enough fluids and I'm backed up. That's pretty much what it sounds like. It sounds like a samurai battle. That's kind of what it is, I suppose. So, it could work for some people. I think it's a good idea. It wouldn't work for me. Foreign tourists back up above 10 million, mostly Chinese, by the way. The best companies list, Alphabet, Google's at the top. I thought this was interesting because I know a lot of people at these companies. In fact, where is the list? So here are the top companies in the world to work for according to LinkedIn. Alphabet, Google number 1, Amazon 2, Facebook 3, Salesforce 4, Uber, which is kind of been getting a lot of bad press lately, but they're there at 5. Tesla, I'm a big fan of Tesla and SpaceX and all that sort of stuff. Apple, I suppose a bit surprising that Apple's below all of those, but there again, this is talking about as a place to work, but I think it's combined with the brand. Time Warner and Walt Disney and Comcast. So there you go. Tinfoil hat. Well, that also, by the way, protects you from ransomware, from what I understand, tinfoil hats. Yes, Charlie Brown. We all read it. Was the top story in Japan, BBC, and everywhere else. Mr. Cordy Chip, rice blocks you up like crazy. Well, I don't find that. Well, Japanese rice has a lot of moisture in it, so it's pretty good. I guess, basmati, the sort of rice that you might have outside of Japan, definitely does do that. Google's getting more serious about VR, which is interesting. In fact, a lot of announcements with Google I/O this week. I didn't see anything too dramatically interesting, but yeah. Graduate salaries are starting to improve. Google Tango's getting pretty good. Duolingo, a very popular language learning app on iOS, has released a Japanese language course. I know this has got a lot of positive attention. I've never used it, but I've noticed a lot of people getting very excited about this, so I guess it must be a good thing. I learned back in the old days when it was flashcards and handwriting out pre-apps. But I guess, it's great that people have so many resources for learning languages nowadays, and this is apparently pretty exciting that Duolingo is in there. Whoops, oh no. Oh, dope. Sorry, I have to zoom back to where I was there. I don't know, does anyone here use Duolingo? I have heard good things about it, but of course I'm not a user, so I cannot speak to it, but I think that's interesting news. In this summer, next summer, they're going to announce a new era age, and bear in mind in Japan, the name of the era is attached to the name of the emperor. For example, in New Zealand and Australia, everybody knows the former emperor as Emperor Hirohito. That's what we all called him during the war and so on, but no one in Japan calls him that. They called him by the name of the era in which he lived, which was Showa, which was it enlightened peace, or enlightened harmony, perhaps more accurately for the kanji. So when he passed in 1988, the current period is Heisei, which is peaceful development, and we're going to have a new double kanji, and that's what the current emperor, who I think his name's Akihito, but you never hear the name Akihito. It's basically always Heisei. He's the Heisei emperor. And the new emperor, given that he's planning to abdicate, setting up for the handover to the new emperor will be basically they're going to decide the name of the new era, which is decided by the Prime Minister and the Cabinet. It's going to happen next summer, so we're going to find out what the new what the new pricing is. I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted by the comments and I'm tired. Not the new pricing for JB Hi-Fi. Why are you talking about JB Hi-Fi? Peaceful peace. Why not peaceful harmonic peace? Hey, wahey. Wahey. I'd actually like that. I like it to be called the wahey period. Harmonious peace. There we go. Wahey. Let's call it that. The Dear Emperor. That's right. People have some good ideas there. Some good ideas. There is the announcement of the previous one by Prime Minister Obuchi. In fact, you know what? Now that I remember, he wasn't the Prime Minister at the time. He died as Prime Minister after a very short tenure. But I think he was like the Minister of Internal Affairs or something who decided that. But that's the top one's peaceful, the bottom one's development, and that is the current period that we live in. Which, coming from 1989, is basically marks the end of the bubble and kind of a stagnant period. It hasn't really been very good, but I would say, yeah, wahey, I think could be very good. Who knows? Who knows? There's Duolingo. There is Uber misbehaving. Patreon is still paying lots of money to creators. Apparently, 230 parents named their kid Kylo after Kylo Ren last year, which I think is actually kind of cool. It does make sense. Although that they should remember when they maybe they're angry mothers, single mothers, because of course Kylo Ren does kill his father. It's a good thing if you're a nerd with a revenge streak. But there we go. But I think it's a cool name, and I very much like the character Kylo Ren, in spite of the killing dead part, which that part is not cool. More people can mobile live stream apparently now. They're rolling it out to more, so check your phone, you might be able to do it. And then the Nijin community wanted to attract more tourists, so they repainted their town. I read some Japanese comments on this. The consensus was not worth it. Oh. Okay, let's open it up. So there is the town, and wouldn't be great for walking home with a hangover, you know. But it's in fact, there we go. But apparently a lot of people like to go there to take Instagrams now, and why not? I mean, it's not a bad, it's a very brave initiative, given that people have to live there now. But yes, thought it was interesting. It is a place to get some good little snaps if you go along. The Japan, so yeah, the UN has issued an opinion on the Comfort Women deal that it wants to include more full references to the UN Convention on Torture, which is a good idea, but the ladies are over 90 years old, and the Korean government's kind of looking for ways to back out. They're kind of feeling out the idea of backing out of the deal, or trying to renegotiate the deal at the moment for political popularity. And, you know, it's an unpopular deal, and that's well known. You know, it's unpopular with the people of Korea. But, you know, for me, the hope is that the governments can sort of put internal politics and popularity aside to actually just make progress, which is what they did with this. Unfortunately, it was with a president who was going to jail, and whose father was a famous collaborator and military dictator who killed thousands of people. So it wasn't the right person perhaps to make the deal with, but it was, you know, I thought it was a positive step. And, you know, it's kind of sensitive now, because now they're looking at undoing it, and right then the UN says, hey, you know what, you should change it. Thank you, United Nations, for your helpful suggestions. It is actually, well, I've looked at the suggestions in full, and they make sense. But, you know, in a complete vacuum from all reality of how hard it was to get to the point that they got to. But there we go. Hikosaemon, indeed, acid trip town. In fact, well, you don't want to get in trouble for that stuff in Indonesia, because you will end up extremely dead. But yes, I could imagine that would be an interesting way to go through that town. It would indeed be the Wahi period. I think we've just decided what the next emperor's name and the next time period in Japan is going to be. I think it's going to be the Wahi period. I think it actually would be pretty cool. That would be awesome. In fact, we should lobby for that. The Wahi. I think it makes total sense. Just put Heiwa in reverse. Easy. That'd be cool. It'd be, yeah. The Wahi emperor. I was going to say something about Thailand, but I'll get in trouble. So no, I'm not going to talk about Thailand. I'm just going to talk about Japan and the new Wahi emperor. So I think that would be excellent if we could do it that way. It would be a great, in Japanese it would be very dignified, and for millennial foreigners it would be extremely fun. So yeah, co-viewing features again. YouTube looks like they're going to up their game with virtual reality video broadcasting, which should be pretty cool. There is a New Zealand ICBM. It's pretty cool. They're going to be launching this week after next, and they should be able to put small satellites into orbit. It's a joint. It's a Seattle-based spaceflight company, but they're actually building them and launching them in New Zealand, and it's pretty cool. Hey, there is Wikipedia. Yo, indeed. Robert Old Dude also saying hello there. But there we go. So I don't know. Yeah, I know everyone. Well, I guess while everyone's looking at North Korea, Aotearoa here, New Zealand, we are actually making ICBMs. I mean, you could put a warhead on top of that thing, and you could make it hit anywhere in America if you wanted to. Not that I'm saying that New Zealand should be sanctioned by the United Nations Security Council. That wouldn't look good, but there we go. We're doing that as well. So Bradley Ford, Thailand in 3 weeks. Well, pretty cool. Where are you going in Thailand? I go to Phuket all the time. Thailand is awesome. I love Thailand. So have a good trip there. This dinosaur thing is awesome. You've all seen it, right? The Notosaurus. Japanese people just basically freaking out at how cool it is. I mean, you can actually see its face. That's badass. Man, I think that's like the coolest thing I've seen in years, is that dinosaur. Internet slang words. I actually learned. There's one of these, the ORZ. I never really understood before why people were saying it. Wow, every website seems to have this meet Chinese women thing. It looks very impressive. Of course you've got www and warota, which just means like ha 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 ha. But to laugh in Japanese is warai, so they just type ww for laughing, and warota is just like a corny version of warata. But in terms of these, there was some that I didn't really know, so lots of warata, www. So ORZ, I didn't really get it until someone pointed out that. I didn't know that's what it was, ORZ, there we go. For years I've been looking at this, I didn't get it. Saba, the fish, which is so mackerel. Dokun, I know Dokun. Dokun is basically someone who's basically insensitive, or which can be as an idiot, someone who's clueless basically. Kusahairu. What's this one? Growing grass. That doesn't really make a lot of sense. Oh, I see. So it's getting lots of reactions. So the number one is triangle, sankaku. Yeah, it's a bit boring, I guess, but yeah, Dokun is there. I didn't know the ORZ one. That was a revelation for me. Who knows? I don't know why I bookmarked this one. Apparently the stuff you get in the supermarket, which is actually made out of mustard that's dyed to look green, it's not actually real wasabi. Apart from the fact that it burns, it doesn't actually do anything to restore hair. And I want my money back for all of the purchases that I made. You actually have to use real wasabi, but apparently if you use real ground wasabi and you rub it on your head, somebody found out it causes hair to grow. It's expensive, but who knows? I actually would like to eat it. I'm a big fan of wasabi, so there we go. It's I have a stock of 20 kilograms of wasabi. I always have it. It's nothing to do with that at all. But I'd be quite happy to eat it. I don't know who this guy is, but I saw some people saying that he's actually quite good, so I've got to check that guy out. His name is Dexter Thomas. Doing quite well as a comedian. There's the Indonesian thing. I mean, I don't know. It has been a quiet week. What can I say? There's not been a lot of awesome stuff except for the poop book. That has been pretty awesome. Milton Keynes. Apparently, they will have AI traffic lights, which sounds good. Sometimes they do better if they just get rid of the traffic lights altogether. Let's close it out with this. New Zealand and Japan are both going to ratify the TPP ahead of everyone else, so it looks like that could happen, although apparently they haven't renegotiated the butter or the potato shortage aspects, which is a disappointment, but what can you do? So look, I've had a big day. I took over 10,000 steps. I went to Venus Fort. There was like a Korean K-pop akshukai, a handshake or hello sort of thing in a tent there at Venus Fort in Odaiba today. And yeah, there were like tens of thousands of young girls there. You know, the idea that there's any issue with inter-Korea-Japan relations on a people-to-people level, take a look at every time a K-pop star comes to Japan. People love them. There's no hostility. I mean, you know, the hostility towards Koreans, I think, is disproportionately shown. You know, it's a few basically, you know, disgruntled, living in their basement, sort of middle-aged guys like who look like me, who are like living with their parents and drive those black trucks and annoy everybody. But the 99% of the population is actually pretty cool with Korean culture, and it was very good to see that out in force today. So there you go. Wow, and I flipped to the next page after saying that, and Japan apparently claims against South Korean government for stuff happening near Takeshima Island, which again was probably not helpful for all of that. But there you go. I'm very looking forward to seeing what Trump has to tell the Saudis about Islam. Probably that he invented it. I don't know. We'll find out. Or maybe he's got a problem. You know, he'll go to Saudi and say it's not. He doesn't have a problem with Islam. It's just that crazy, Wahhabism, which. Oh, you went to the car place, Stuart. Great. I was beside the car place. My lad was playing in the kids gym across from there, but. Yeah, the car place, the Toyota, what is it, Mega Web, that's where you were, right, Stuart? Great, that's a pretty cool place to hang out for the day. Beautiful day today, by the way. I also took some hyperlapses today, which I guess I could show. Maybe it's a good way to end the show, so let's do that. Boom. Boom. In fact, let's show this one, and we'll see. I don't know how well this will play. See it plays. Took a hyperlapse out the window as I went to Odaiba, so that's a nice way to end the show. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm gonna bug out a little bit early. I'm gonna tidy up here and get some sleep. Hope that you're all well. I'm gonna watch maybe one more episode of The Bachelor. Who knows? Hope you guys all have a good week. See you back here next week. Next week, big announcement. We're getting Scott Ackerman unrested. We're getting Scott on for 2.5 Oyajis next Saturday. It's gonna be huge. We're going to be talking about why Scott wants to stop being a J-vlogger. I don't really care, but this sort of thing really upsets Victor. So we'll find out about that. And he's doing some really creative and cool stuff. So we will be talking about that next week, and it will be awesome. So don't miss it. Next week, next Saturday, 10:30 p.m. on my channel. Here it's going to be 2.5 Oyajis with Unrested. It's going to be an awesome show. And then I'll be back here, same time as always, with Tokyo Tonight. So there you go. Have a good one. Peace. Boom.